get started. Microphone's on. Now make sure, because that's a problem. All right, so it is, I don't even know what today's date is. Saturday, November 11th, 2020. We are officially out of Halloween and the month of October. And I know we still are in this weird energy with the election and all that stuff. But that's not what we're talking about today. I have a special guest, Julia, here. She's going to get a full-on reading. So what that means, for those of you who have never had one, or maybe haven't had one with me, I'm going to connect with the spirits and I'm going to provide her a message. Now, she has seen me in action before several times. She is one of my son's friends, so she's been around for a very long time. At least it feels like forever.
Probably about 6 years.
Okay. Yeah, it feels longer than that to me. But she wanted a reading and she was willing to do it live, so I wanted to give you guys a little special treat today. Since she's done it before, this is going to sound like a repeat, so that's why I'm looking at the camera and not her. But I wanted everybody out there to understand how this could or maybe not work. So when I do spiritual readings, I give the spirits the time to talk for the first about, if it's an hour-long session, the first about 40 minutes to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And then the last 10 minutes for questions, answers, clarification of things. Usually I let the person record it, but since this is going live, she can go back and listen to it at any time she wants through my YouTube channel. When I go to do it, I may not get names. The time's going to move so fast, as we all see with these live streams, especially when we're talking spirit, and the name's not necessarily important. Although I will tell you, I keep hearing the name John over and over and over and over in my head. So it's been happening since this morning. John and a Mary. I keep hearing those two names repeated in my head nonstop. Now, what that means, though, is when I start to tune in before I do a session, then that could be, for somebody completely different than who I'm talking to. But I always tell the person what I've gotten prior. If I, as a reminder, if I start talking about something you don't want to talk about, just tell me. Where they're going, you don't want to talk about it, especially because, we're putting this out there into the world to see. So even when it's just private, sometimes we don't want to talk about something. So, and that's okay too. If I cuss, I apologize to the world, because if they cuss, I cuss. And she definitely has some family members that would cuss.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing, if I start talking about something, and you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to. Okay. It's not going to ruin anything. If anything, you'll just open up the space to have more information come through. So sometimes people won't want to say anything because they feel like they're giving too much information or this, that, or the other thing. But in the end, it's never too much information, because then we can move on faster. The other thing is, for those of you, since I started this off, to introduce her as someone that I've known for a while. You may think, some of this stuff I'm about to say, I already know, or, personally would remember, or something like that. And what I want to reassure everybody is, although maybe some of the stuff I would say, I absolutely would know in my life. However, when I'm communicating, I'm not thinking. So whatever comes up, that's the spirits need to bring it up, even if it is something that's familiar to me. The other thing I will do, because it is live, if we were private, I wouldn't do this. But since it is live, if I get information that I feel needs to be private, I will tell you later. Okay? I'll just say to you, I have some private information to give you, and then just remind me. Okay. Because once I disconnect, I may forget, because that's the great thing about communication. I don't remember. But if you remind me, then I'll reconnect and get the information because I feel like there's something that needs to be said that I'm not going to say online. So, yeah, your dad's grandmother is like,
Usually.
she's very chatty.
Usually.
And she has no problem airing out dirty laundry.
I know. Yeah, like, I don't know.
At all. I mean, she was like that in life, too, is what I'm hearing. And, if something was happening in her home, the whole neighborhood knew about it within 15 minutes of it happening. Mm-hmm. She almost went door to door to tell people, but instead she just called them. So she had everybody on speed dial. So yeah. All right. So we are going to get started. So with all that, we are when I actually start, I will not be looking at the screen. I will not see your messages until after the recording. So any messages that get put out there, I will respond via the YouTube channel. So just a few that I see so far. Terry, good morning. And I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Haiti. Yes, I'm doing a reading with Julia. And we're wearing masks because we're currently still in the COVID pandemic in the United States. And I work not only in my own practice, but I also work at a group home for teenage children. And if I were to get COVID, the whole campus would shut down because I am literally everywhere on that campus working with children to get them to and from the therapies that they're doing, including the on-campus school. So if I get COVID, that's a major problem for basically a charitable organization that is funded through the church. So that would be a bad thing. And as we know with the mask, me wearing a mask only protects her. Her wearing a mask protects me. So she knows what I do and how important it is. So we're both staying safe, even though we know each other. All right. With that said, I'm going to start. So, I just got to connect real quick. So when I do this is just me connecting. Because even though I was listening, I was only kind of like half listening. Okay. All right. All right, right off the bat, as soon as I connect it, I am seeing a fire warning for you.
Okay.
Now, the apartment that you guys are living in, it is older. I understand that it's older. And that it is something that typically has the firewalls and the breaks and stuff like that in between, from section to section. However, that doesn't help when it's below or right next to. And just below the apartment, there's some questionable people that either are about to move in or have just moved in. They're kind of newer people. So, and they smoke, for one, all right? And if you fall asleep with cigarettes, we obviously know the dangers and the problems and the issues that could happen. And when I see smoke, I am seeing cigarettes, but I am seeing questionable, like, drug activity, such as, like, meth, that kind of thing. Whether they're using or selling or doing both, but it is a risk, okay? So I am seeing a fire warning for you guys. So the only thing, and that's the thing about warnings, obviously if it's something you can change, then that's completely different. But when it's somebody else, you can't really do much about that, right? The only thing you guys can do is make sure that you have renter's insurance. A lot of times when we're in apartments, we don't typically get it.
Right.
Because it's an apartment, we kind of think, well, it's no big deal, right? But with renter's insurance, it'll allow you guys to recover your electronics and things like that, your beds, everything that will get damaged that's not covered.
I hate this story right now.
Sorry.
It's weird you say that, though, because I actually saw the person who lived under us before moving out. And I might add in his underwear, but whatever. So, yeah, somebody's got to be moving in.
Okay. So somebody went out, somebody's coming in. Yeah. Got it. Okay. So that's the downside. I will say that if the fire does occur, you guys are awake and it is not occurring when you're sleeping.
Okay.
So whether you guys are even there is questionable at this point. It's based on timing kind of situation. And if they're truly dipping out, they're dipping out during the daytime. So, you might be working where your boyfriend may not be, and if smoke is starting, there's the safety there. But I know your boyfriend would be super pissed off if he lost everything in that apartment because you guys work so hard to get it. And so that's very important. So, and besides, as a gamer, you don't want your stuff to go away. Meanwhile, you're like, that may not be a bad thing.
No,
but
no, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with anything like that.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Yeah, because you'll be displaced.
He would be mad enough that somebody's under us doing that anyhow. He's not here.
Yeah.
But.
Well, the thing is, and I know they're gonna want to talk about. I just heard named George. They want to talk about where your future is going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where you're living, where you're gonna live. Kind of give you your pathway, which I know they've told you this before, but when they told you this before, you weren't in the right mindset to kind of deal with what was being said.
Right.
Okay, and when they're telling me and reminding me about the mindset that you were in before, it's mostly because you've been hurt.
Yeah.
You have a lot of family stuff going on, a lot of issues that we all have family issues, right? We all have drama. But in your case, it's that drama that really hinders you from moving forward. Okay? And all our family drama and all our issues that we all get involved with and raised with definitely affects us in our life. But for you, it hinders you. And it would be your great grandma. But if I call her grandma on dad's side, I apologize because it's just the way that it is. But she's the most talkative, so she's probably gonna just be right.
Yeah.
So we need to talk about that. But what I don't want you to do, and this is something that's very important in a session, is when we hear a path and the path could potentially be dangerous, unless it's something we can personally change, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
So if we're going to stress about it, then all it's going to do is affect us, right? It's going to affect our health. It's going to affect our day-to-day life. The person that's supposed to move in could very well not move in, and then you have a nice little family instead. Mm-hmm. If there's kids in there, then the path was diverted. And how we can divert that path is knowing it. You could put energy out there of like, I want a nice little family to move in there with at least one kid, working parents, but at least one kid, and then we don't have to worry about that. Even with that said, there's still some questionable neighbors around you, but I feel like they're past the firewall situations. Okay. All right, so it's really just that concern below, the apartment below. Okay. Because of your sensitivity to spirits and being empathic and energy sensitive, it's why when you relax, you don't like what's downstairs. Mm-hmm. There's some energy from that particular apartment that has been there for a long time that's festering. And so it tends to get people in that are questionable people that it can feed off of and really kind of take them down a deeper path. The problem with that is if your boyfriend still worked there, then he can go in there. You can, I can clear it. You can clear it and make it better. But he doesn't work there anymore. So unless he's friends with somebody still that would let him in to do the energy work, you know what I mean? Like we could do something like that. But otherwise, it's kind of no matter what happens, that particular entity that's in there is feeding off of who's in there. The good news is not coming above, but I know you can sense like something's not right below, especially like a sinking feeling I'm feeling, like almost like you're in quicksand. And whenever you go to bed, you kind of can feel like you're being pulled down.
The last person who lived there would pray every night, and we could hear him. Okay. And I would even say to Lou, are we sure that is, whatever he's praying to is safe, is okay? You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't recognize it, and I don't know. And he said, I think it's African. I don't know.
Okay.
But maybe he knew. He could tell some. I don't know.
I would say the prior person that just left definitely had some mental health issues. Yeah. At least that's what I'm hearing. And that definitely grew up in a more voodoo culture aspect of life.
Yeah.
Even though he was never really practicing, it was like his family that was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being told he's a biracial family. And it was interesting because it was his white side of the family that was practicing voodoo
Interesting.
and not the African American side. And so it became this weird thing for him. And he couldn't sleep. And so when he was praying because he felt vulnerable. And so he went back to his reverting of this. So something's in there, and something is definitely causing issues. And that's why you feel the way you do. Mm-hmm. The only way to change the way you're feeling is you got somehow, either myself or somebody else, or if somebody moves in there with a nice family, talk to them and just say, hey, listen, if it feels funny in here and if things start going bad, let me know. I'm just sensitive and I know somebody that can help you. Okay? But if Luke can get somebody, to open the door so I can go in there and clear the space, I'll do it. Because it's literally that apartment. Because I know there's an apartment or two below, but it's that apartment. There's something in there and there's something in the wall that's like a token.
Yeah.
So that's why you'll hear bangs on the wall when there should be no bangs, because it's like one of the firewalls, so to speak. So having the, knocking and things like that is just kind of weird. Yeah. So yeah. And that just helps your sleep, sleep is good. So we'll have to address those things. Okay. So with that said, she wants to move on to your future because financially, nope, she's switching to financially. They're kind of tied together, honestly. But
unfortunately,
money makes the world go round. It really does. So specifically, when it comes to employment for you, you're always going to be seeking something else. You'll never be satisfied in anything that you're doing, okay? And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that's wrong is your abilities. And if you're not utilizing your abilities in some fashion, you're always going to be searching for something that you don't have. And that includes relationships, whether friendships, partners, animals, employment, new places to live. That need to run away is from your abilities. Add in the childhood you had, and that need to run away is now 1,000 times worse. Right. Okay? So getting the abilities under control, which you did for a little bit, but then you stopped and you haven't really done much until you start feeling kind of off, or maybe things aren't going your way, and then you'll kind of like do a little bit here and there. But you need to have some good control. Now, I understand if you don't want to white light every day because it's exhausting, or you forget and then things are fine and then, then they go bad again. So there's certain stones you can put into the corners of the apartment if it's not done already.
I used to have them and moved them to my dad's house because he might need them. Okay. So, okay. They're not there anymore, but I could get them.
Yeah. And then you won't have to worry about it as much, at least when you're in your home. When you go into the world, obviously, you're back to doing what you got to do. But when I say do something with your abilities, you don't have to communicate. You don't have to do any of those things. But what you do need to do is reground yourself. You need to disconnect your spiritual abilities so that way you could be here and you could be in the present world. You could do energy work. You could do, Reiki work. Take a Reiki class, even if you're just doing it on yourself or doing it on the boyfriend or doing it on your dad, do it on family. But having an outlet to send all that energy that you're pulling in is going to help you. And here's an option from your family, uncle, friend guy, okay? So I'm going to tell you what that option is. But when you don't direct that energy appropriately, then all that you took in now gets lashed out through usually your words. Like you really find your voice and start freaking out. Or you just disconnect and you want to just disappear. Okay. And those two options don't work when you're trying to make your life the way you want it to look. Because otherwise, all you're doing is fighting. You're fighting an uphill battle. So if you're lashing out on your boyfriend all the time, you know, now your boyfriend wants nothing to do with you, or he's yelling at you, and then now that makes you even more angry, and then you feel like he doesn't care, especially when he's going to play Xbox for 2 days straight.
PlayStation. We gotta say it's
PlayStation. Sorry, gaming system. I'll just say that. But yet at the same time, you're angry, and now you feel even more neglected
Right.
because of the childhood that you had as well. And the same thing happens with your family. Every time someone's trying to bridge a gap, you mistrust them because of what's happening, or you let them in just a tiny bit, and then they do it all over again. And so now you're like, putting those walls back up. So, the gentleman, I don't know his name, don't tell me, in case it comes to me. He's a very tall dude, too. I mean, I'm short, so, but
Yeah.
I would say he's like 5'8", 5'7.5". So he's between 5'7" and 5'8". Kind of broad, but not heavy, but not
Right.
skinny. So he's in this like weird bucket kind of thing. Anyway, dark hair, So he's showing me everything he looks like, but he hasn't said his name, which you think just tell me your name, but whatever.
Right. Okay.
It's fine. So what he's actually saying, because of your abilities and because of the various avenues that you're always trying to find money to work, because you're never satisfied with the employment you have, he's saying to utilize your energy and your energy practices to make satchels, to make energy sprays, to make these energetic healing energy things, and then you could sell them from home. People pay shipping and handling, or included as part of it, depending on what it is that you're doing, and just do it that way. You don't need much, and from like a product supply perspective, you don't need a lot of storage for that, because a lot of it is going to be either just the little bags or whatever herbs, whatever rose petals, whatever flower petals, whatever it is that you're utilizing, and just infuse that. I'm sorry. Your grandmother is hilarious. Okay. Yeah. She's like, but you need to tell her not to be making like love potions or anything like that, because she would be doing that, or curses,
What?
just to make money.
I don't think so. I do not.
Just to make money, she said. So if somebody came to you with a good offer, you would do it.
I don't know.
I know, and I'm glad to hear that you say you don't know, but we don't know what we would do in situations when we need money, right? So she wants you to just not go down that path, okay? So
that's kind of like a negative, like you're playing with fire there, yeah.
Yeah, and for those that are watching, the reason being is, you would think, well, it's no big deal if you're making a love potion for somebody, because that's a positive.
I think I don't like that idea.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of controlling someone else's energy, or trying to, rather than just like grounding somebody with like smells and whatever,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
It is, and that's the problem. And so if I were to do one, I always tell people I would do it that you find love, whatever that looks like, but not for this person,
right,
or for this reason, because that person could be meant to marry somebody else, have a child that will change the world, and now that's not going to happen because of that. And that's where that dark energy and that negative energy comes into play. So, but she's funny, because when she said it, it was like she was so worried, like, oh my God, don't do that. Her little self was coming out. Her opinionated self cracks me up every time. Okay, so you can still continue to just kind of work and do your thing and kind of, see where it goes, make the money you need to make. Because in the end, you just need to make enough money to pay your bills and, have a little bit of money for vacations and things and the fun things that you want to buy or do. That we don't have to be rich, even though, we think we all do. We just need to make the money we need to make, right? And if that changes, then okay, your income needs to change. So for now, if you're just doing what you got to do to get by, okay, then do that while you figure things out. But you won't figure things out as long as your abilities is left under control, because there's too many spirits around giving you what they did and their thoughts and then all of this other stuff. So getting it under control from just even energy work, grounding yourself, working on whoever you want to work on as a personal thing, it'll allow you to refocus and do what you need to do in the world. Because you could be making a ton of money, and every day you go into work, you'd wonder if you screwed up, if you're going to get fired tomorrow. Especially if you take a personal day.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to walk in there and be like, okay, you're not good enough, you're out. All right, that's your spiritual abilities, and that's throwing you off. And then you don't want to go in if you take a day off, because then it's like, ugh, am I going to get in trouble for this? Meanwhile, you have time to use, but you have this mindset of letting people down.
Yeah.
And so that's where it kind of stems into family issues, and that hinders you. So instead of using it as like, well, I'm just going to make sure I don't do certain things. I'm going to make sure that if I do this, that I recognize it, I apologize, and even when we shouldn't, but yet that's what most people tend to do. In your case, what you end up doing is you cripple yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you cripple yourself, you revert inwards, and then you become depressed, and then you don't know what you want to do, where you want to go. Are you in the right relationship? Are you not in the right relationship? Does my family mean well? Does my family not mean well? Like, do my friends mean well? Like, you really get lost in your thoughts.
Right.
And it's because of the life that you had. And I'm not going to go into those details because I know that's sensitive and private, because there's a lot there.
And 3 hours long. If you did,
It's a lot, exactly. And that's just your childhood. That's not you as a teenager, you as a young adult who has lost so many friends, and not only to death, but just change, where you drifted apart when you thought you were really close and they're still alive, and yet nothing to do with you, and that all that gunk, all that nonsense is just festering. And then you revert inwards. And when you revert inwards, the rest of the world is lost. Yep. All right, lost to you. And then the people in your life don't understand it. And when they don't understand it, now it's an attack on you, which then makes you revert deeper down and deeper inside. And because of that, that's why every 5 to 8 months, because it started with 6, but then she's like, no, let's go 5. Between 5 and 8 months, it's not that you have a breakdown, but it seems like that to other people, but you're not having a mental breakdown. You just decide, you know what, screw everybody, I'm out. Yeah. And you back off and you walk away from everything and everyone. And you're doing it because you're hurt, but because others don't see that or understand the pain you're dealing with every day, then they think, well, now you're just a bitch. Now you're the evil person who just wants to hurt somebody. And then as soon as that happens and your walls go up, then you start, living a different maybe lifestyle that you wouldn't necessarily live, like maybe drink a little more, party a little more, maybe be interested in somebody, sex, whatever. And you may regret it, because then you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Right. But in those moments, you're just trying to feel something than pain. Right. So you're in this very tough cycle. And I know we've done a past life regression before. Mm-hmm. We might need to do another one. But the biggest thing that she wants me to tell you need to do is you need to clearly define the relationships in your life. Okay? And when I say that, I mean mostly family versus your boyfriend. Okay? He is in his own island. Okay? He needs to be over here. He's in his island. He has his vision of his life and what he wants from it.
Yep.
Okay? He wants kids. He wants at least 5, maybe 6. He'll settle for 3 unless he gets all girls, and then he wants a boy at some point, so he'll keep going until that's the case. Okay? He wants all that. He wants, a white picket fence a situation like a house and all that, but not a white picket fence situation.
Right. Yep.
Okay?
Exactly.
He wants all of that. He also wants to be able to make enough money where he doesn't have to work full time, but yet still have everything of all that and what it entails. Okay, and the downtime is so he can do whatever he wants. Right, for at least a whole day, 2 days maybe. That's not what most people consider it a weekend. Right, the weekend off. And that's fine. That's his vision. That's his world. I know from seeing your future they're showing me and the paths that are an option for you, that you're more than welcome to slide into that world and be that person for him. Yet at the same time, you don't want to do that until you're in your 30s, just to make sure everything's good. Financially is good, emotionally you're good, that you're not feeling like, okay, things are really good and now they're really shit and we seem to be fighting all the time, and then now things are good, or now I kind of ran away and then now I have to rebuild a trust that I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to run when all you want to do is run most of the weeks.
Yeah.
And that's your abilities. All right. I'm going to say your abilities are the worst one because we all dealt with drama. We all deal with bullshit. Okay. But when you're sensitive, as you know, I'm the first one to tell you I want to run away almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I force myself to be where I'm at. You also, and this is where your boyfriend needs to understand, and maybe hearing this, he'll understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be touched.
Yeah.
It is your abilities as well.
Yeah.
Human basic need, we need to be touched.
Yeah.
There's studies out there that can be looked into about touch, but we need touch in general. But add somebody with abilities in, we need touch because of what's happening around us all the time. So when the spirits are constantly surrounding you, even as close as I am to you right now, I know you can't feel my energy.
Right.
I can't feel your energy because I feel all the spirits that are around us. And I know that's what you feel too. So if you're walking around with this energy bubble of spiritual activity, you're not going to feel love. You're not going to feel energy unless somebody touches you.
Yeah.
And it's why when you're in the store, you have to touch everything.
It's funny.
It's how people with abilities connect, okay?
Yeah.
If we're not touching, we don't feel the same.
Yeah.
I know your boyfriend loves you.
Yeah.
He does. He does. I know you don't feel it. And I know it's nothing that he's done. Occasionally he's done some things, just like you've done some things to him to cause that. We all do that. We're human, right? Overall, it's nothing that he's done. It's the spirit activity.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not making connection, touch with you, you're completely disengaged. And so the thought that sitting next to each other, even though you're not touching each other, and then an hour after watching something or doing something, well, let's go jump in the sack, let's go have some fun, you're not there.
Yeah.
You're disconnected from touch and reality with spiritual stuff. So for you to just go jump in the sack and enjoy yourself, it's more than that. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
Who aren't aware of what's happening to people with spiritual abilities. I struggle with the same exact things. So, and I've been doing this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I know my boyfriend loves me.
Right.
I don't always feel it.
Yep.
I would say the majority of the time I don't feel it unless he touches and says he loves me.
Yeah.
Then I make that connection. Outside of that, I have to remind myself, oh no, he loves me. We're good. Or just the fact of I need a little more space, but yet at the same time, that space, I need whoever I care about to be in that space.
Right.
But then they're doing their own thing and doing, and doing this, and then wonder why we're disconnected from them, especially you. So, and it's because you're still struggling with a lot of things. So I'm hoping he's listening to this so that way he understands what he needs and what he needs to do, so that way you could be on the same page as him. Because you want to be there, you want to be on that same page, but the disconnect is what's happening around us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Like, I would like for him not to have to feel obligated to do anything for me to know that he, beside the obvious, to know that he loves me. I don't want him to feel like, oh, I have to constantly be, like, on her ass, or excuse me, but.
That's fine.
because it's just like, who wants to.
Well,
and that's where my part comes in, where I have to get more control of my abilities. But I think I've never fully understood, okay, when someone says that, well, what does that mean actively in my everyday life? What am I doing? Does that cause me to be more in my head because I'm worried? Am I controlling that? But like, I make it sound more complicating than it is, because I do know how to white light. I do know how to say, calm down. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't right now. Like, I don't need all this around me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes at work I feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, because people are haunted, right? Yeah. So everybody at work is bringing their own entourage of spirits, whether it's family, spirit guides, friends, or strangers, depending on if any of them have abilities. So that's a good question. So we'll talk about that, because I understand what you mean by it's not his responsibility to make you feel that way all the time, okay? You're absolutely right. But where it is his responsibility, because he knows it. He knows your triggers. He knows when you are in a certain space where you'll go if things aren't changed.
Yeah.
Okay? But he's stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
So when he sees that, he disconnects, because he then starts to think, well, I don't know what her problem is. Nothing's wrong. Everything's great.
Yeah.
I don't know what her problem is. And so I guess she'll get over it, or I guess she'll be fine. When in the end, you just need a touch. You just need someone to put their hand on your shoulder and just not even say anything. It's almost like, Jesus, Lord, right? Just touch.
Yeah, and you don't realize that you need it, but sometimes it's like someone bringing you back to earth,
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That is the best way to say it. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as we touch, it brings us back to here and now. When spiritual activities around us all the time, we're not here and now. We are there. We are in their space. We're in their energy. We're in their world. Mm-hmm. So if that's what's happening and you need to come back down, the quickest way to reground yourself is eating, which is why we binge eat, right? Exactly. It's frustrating. Eat, walk on the ground barefoot, which is not always possible, depending on where we're at. We're not going to be at work and go walk on a blacktop or take our shoes off or leave, whatever. It's just not going to happen. Taking showers or being in water, which again, can't always do. And touch. Touch. Touch, touch, touch. So he could see, because of your triggers, because we all have them, and anybody who pays attention to anybody, even our family, we know what our triggers are as soon as we see them. All he needs to do is touch. And so I challenge him. Where's the camera? I challenge him to touch. Okay? Don't put your walls up. Touch her shoulder. Okay. You're like, okay. That was going to be too much. You're going to be like, stop touching me. Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's that balance. Because even when we do get a lot of touch all of a sudden, it can feel overwhelming because of what's happening around you. The spiritual activity and the pulls that are happening. Now it's an sensitivity. It's why autistic kids get supercharged with touch or need to shut down when they get touched too much. They're already spiritually affected from their day to day, and now they're being overly touched. So it's finding that right balance, but the most important thing is communication. right? Like, we joked about your grandma, who would tell everybody everything.
Right.
But she wasn't that stressed because she always communicated, even if she really overshared. But she never really held much in. So if she was angry, she verbalized that.
Mm-hmm.
If she was frustrated, she verbalized that. If she was super happy, she'd start singing to the world, right? And, obviously there's a level there, but at the same time, we don't find our voices, especially in relationships. We're trying to conform to somebody else's world because we want to fit into it. When spiritual ability people, we're our own breeds. So we need somebody in our life that is strong enough to understand and secure enough to understand we can't be their saviors. We can't always be there. We want to be.
Yeah.
We try to be. But we can't always just, yes, dear, what do you need, dear? Let me help you with that, dear. No, we need that moment of just like, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
Including don't touch me, even though I just said all that about touch.
Right. No,
because you need that space to, it's oversensitive. Right. So we got him, we got this, and I know you want to do all this stuff. I know you want to be there on your time and your schedule. Yet at the same time, we have somebody else's opinions in there too. And that's where finding that balance is, right? Because your both opinions are equally important. It's just which one takes precedent today versus tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So that's that. Family, your family loves you.
Yeah.
They all do.
Mm-hmm.
They have their issues they're dealing with and their sensitivities. Mom is very sensitive to spiritual activity. Yeah. She really needs to get her abilities under control, and then the compulsive disorder she has, as well as I don't know if she was labeled schizophrenia, but she really would be if she would see a psychiatrist that would label that.
Be honest with the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what schizophrenia actually is, 99.9% of the time, is spiritual communication. But your mom has gotten to a point where that's her defense mechanism at this point, so that she could do whatever she wants and then blame it on this disorder or that disorder. And I know, no, I don't think they saw your eyes, but
I rolled them. Oh, she can know I rolled them.
She really yeah.
Tell her how it is when it comes to her.
And the thing is her heart's always in the right place.
Yeah.
It's everything else that goes awry.
Mm-hmm.
And yet at the same time, you feel the need to be the best daughter you could be.
Mm-hmm.
And yet at the same time, there's not much you could do to be that.
Right.
So it's okay to be a bitch and, in her opinion, and back off. Okay? And just let her figure her life out. She's an adult.
Yeah.
You're an adult. Labels are labels. And her grandfather is saying, in all honesty, if she wasn't your mom, you wouldn't associate with her.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's why labels get confusing, because the label's there. But yet, we may not like that person, and that's okay. But acknowledging that we don't like this person in their actions, or maybe what they're saying, or maybe we don't like them once a year, because they go through something every year at the same time, and they don't, you don't want to deal with it. Okay, acknowledge it, put your walls up, let that person get past it, and then you come together. Okay, that's fine. Your dad, he definitely also has spiritual abilities, and he drowns them out. Mm-hmm. So I know he's doing very well. His mom, his grandma, his grandma. She said he's doing very well at trying to stay clean and sober, which I feel like is just alcohol. Like, I just feel like liquid running down my throat. Like, he's doing his best. And he hasn't had a drink in a while, is what I'm hearing. So, but he would use alcohol to drown out the spiritual connection.
It was never really clear that my dad has, because, he's not a drinker like that. But he's had moments where he's drank a lot in bad times, which makes you think, is that your coping you know what I mean? It's not like some people have such clear view of alcoholism.
Mm-hmm,
Other
mm-hmm.
people just have a negative coping skill.
Right. Or just, so what if I have 2 drinks
So
a day?
yeah, it's not
no
a
big deal.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Like that.
No,
Like,
well,
like
I'm
that,
being told that's
okay.
what it is. And
Yeah.
if he were to hear that or see that, he'd probably be like, yeah, okay. And that's all that I would see him do, except for he's a little like you, he reverts inward as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when he disappears into himself, he's stressed, he doesn't know how to deal with it, he's trying to do all the right things, and yet it doesn't seem like things are happening. And for him, it's again his abilities. He is similar to yours, where he's energy sensitive, more energy sensitive than empath, but he's energy sensitive and empathic at the same time.
Okay.
Where you're more empathic with energy sensitivity. You can open yours up to be more communicative, which, what time? It goes way too fast. We got like 10 minutes. We get, lost within all of that, and like, where do we go? How do we make this work? And whatever. And as your question was, like, okay, well, what is this? What do I do? How do I make this work? You told me all this great stuff. So now what? Like, and that's where the paths are going to come in. So the same thing with your dad. So right now, you're listening to feel, right? What other people feel, whether they're alive or dead. So if somebody's feeling like they're having a heart attack or they died of a heart attack, you're going to feel like you're having a heart attack. If someone died of stomach issues, you're going to feel sick to your stomach. If somebody is really stressed out and has a lot of anxiety, you're going to be stressed out and have a lot of anxiety. And it could be the person sitting next to you. It doesn't have to be somebody that's dead.
Right.
Then you have energy sensitivity and all that stuff. But as you control it, and honestly, as you work it, then that's where communication comes in.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, we've all heard these channels, right? Clairvoyance, psychic medium, shamanism, but there's so many labels. They're just channels that different people listen to. So empath is a channel. Energy sensitivity is a channel. Medical intuitive is a channel, etc., etc., etc. And if that's the channel you're tuned into, then that's what you're going to hear. That's what you're going to feel, whatever that is. It can become more, but that's where you got to decide if you want it to become more. If you want it to just be like, okay, this is my life. It's happening because that's who I am. We're all born with it. Mine stayed on. Usually when you have family members that have the abilities, they tend to stay on. We don't naturally shut it down as easily as others. But if you wanted to just kind of be, this is who I am, but this is what I want to do. This is where I want to make money. This is where my passion is. This is where I want to be. This is it. Great. Just get this under control. And you get it under control by just really pushing them away. Yeah. And just say, listen, I'm not communicating with strangers. Only immediate family and friends can be by. And if my family or friends are here and they need something to say, I'm going to listen. That's it. That's all I want. Okay? And you got a lot of friends over there, which Morgan's been like dancing behind you for like 10 minutes now, like trying to get my attention so he could be like, hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Which cracks me up. So, he's like, hi. Hi. Then he looked at the camera and he said, for all my friends watching, hi. But that's fine. And that's where you get that control. You put your walls up, you put by white lights, and you put your rules out there. Nothing negative, nothing ill will, and only immediate family and friends can be around me at any given time. The more that you put those rules up, the more your light will dim a little bit, and so others won't come to you. Okay? But if there are times where maybe you want to do, more than that, okay. If for the next 5 years you don't want any of that, then that's what you do. You eventually then change your rules to allow others in. If you were to embrace your energy aspects, whether it's as suggested by your uncle, the making of satchels, the making of this, the making of the energy oils and sprays and, things like that, lotions, things like that. Then your ability from an energy perspective and a Reiki perspective is going to get super strong. And as that gets stronger, it's going to be harder to push away spiritual communication and strangers, because now you're inviting them in to do the work and then you're trying to push them away. So you really have to take the time to decide which path you want.
Right.
All right. So you have all these branches happening right now, right? Some of it is because of the abilities. Some of it is really just, not sure what you want, where you want to be, what you want to do. You're trying to navigate a life. You're trying to be with your boyfriend who you've been with for a very long time. And I know you love and care about him, and vice versa. And what does that mean, and where does that look like? And is it the right person? Is it not? Like, I get it, all these thoughts, but the spirits don't help with that. Okay? So putting it up anytime that you have to make any kind of decision is the best thing you can do for yourself. To even say, only my spirit guides are nearby as I think about these things of what's right and what's not. But with all these branches that's coming out, you have multiple paths and multiple avenues at your fingertips right in this moment. Most people have this or that, not you. Every time I look at your branch, your path, it's spiders.
Yeah.
So you have continue what you're doing, how you're doing it, and your world is always going to be this rocky world, and nothing seems to make sense. You're always going to feel like you're struggling, even when you're not, and it's always going to look that way. Even if you get the spiritual stuff under control, if you don't start to make clear lines and boundaries with labels, family, boyfriend, even friends, you're always going to be wishy-washy. All right? Because for you, setting boundaries with people is very difficult, because you want to be there for everybody and you want to make sure everybody's happy. You can't do both. It is your biggest strength, it's your greatest weakness. You can't make everybody happy. You could try, and for the most part it'll work, but now you're not happy because now you're conforming to everyone else, regardless of what those labels are. So you need to start working on that. If you don't work on that, and you still like, okay, I'm going to get this under control, I'm going to use my abilities, it'll be better. But you'll still feel this pull and this holdback. And that's where I think, that's where I know that she was mentioning maybe doing another past life regression. Mm-hmm. So that way we can put those said labels into their appropriate boxes while you identify what's okay and what's not okay. And then label it within your mind space. So that way when you interact with these people, you subconsciously go to that box and you identify where those labels are and where they should be. Ideally, your strongest path that I'm seeing is, whether you do these label things or not, the strongest path is moving to the middle of nowhere in, like, it feels warm, but it doesn't feel hot, so I'm gonna say like a little south, maybe like Tennessee, Kentucky, like somewhere like there, right, that line. And you guys would have so much more disposable income, all the space that you both want, and yet a little bit of dabbling of your spiritual abilities, but really have everything that you're looking for and the space that you want when it comes to family. I know you've moved several times before to faraway places.
Yeah.
But you've done that because that's where he wanted to go.
Yep.
Not where you wanted to be. And finding that right place where you both would want to be is where it would actually work out. And that's that line. Even if that's like the thought for him is like, well, no, I ain't going to those areas.
Yep, definitely.
But he doesn't realize
Yeah.
what's there until he goes there.
Yeah.
So, do like plan like a weekend away, like in some area where you would consider moving to. Mm-hmm. And then you go for a weekend, a couple's weekend or whatever, and kind of get away and just kind of let him feel that energy and see the opportunities that are there, because that's where used to would thrive. And the biggest reason I'm hearing is because you both had many lives in that area. And so it's like almost like coming home. And then again, the distance is far enough, but not too far that if you needed to come home for holidays, for God forbid funerals, like you can come home.
Right.
Versus the other side of the country and how you get back,
I know, we were like, let's just pick the furthest spot on the map and go there.
Yeah. But also, every place you guys have potentially gone to, he knows somebody in that area. And so it's like that safety net is there, where for the two of you to really kind of thrive, you guys can't have safety nets. Because with that safety net, that means then you can run back home. And here, although is okay, there's too much pain here.
Yeah.
And there's too much loss here. And too much reminders is the best way to say it, for many reasons. And doesn't mean those memories go away, but it doesn't have to be so much in your face.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's the strongest path. That's where you guys should be. And by doing so, you guys have your little island without being in the middle of the ocean. Yep. So, but yet you guys can get, everything that you want for such a cheaper price without working to the bone, both of you, so that way when you do have kids, because I know it's important for you that when you have kids to be able to have a parent home. Like, I know you want to split it 50-50. Like, you want to be able to go out and do some stuff, but yet also spend some of the times at home with the kids.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're both working part-time hours, opposite schedules, so that way someone's always home with the kids, but it's part-time. So it's like not full-time. Right. You know what I mean? And that's the area that it'll give it to you. Yeah. So, and honestly, if you guys do that, then I have a place I can visit for free. So, like, I can come on vacation and come see you guys. So, because I know for your boyfriend, like, because it is one of Morgan's best friends, I know I will be grandma, to your kids. Definitely. So, yeah. So, and if you're far away, that's okay. That just means like
you and Dave love to take trips.
Oh, we do. We like to, it's not all the time, but like, we love getting away, and if we have somewhere we can go, we're spending less money, then we do it more often. But obviously with COVID, that's a little harder right now. What time is it? Oh, it's already 11. All right, and my next person must be late because otherwise dogs would have been freaking out. Okay, so recap. Identify the labels. You don't have to do it through a past life regression, but definitely identify the labels and what you want to label them to be and the kind of relationship you want from them. Whether it's your terms, their terms, or a combination of both. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable. Then, hopefully boyfriend will see this and understand too much touch versus not enough touch, because it's one or the other, which tends to happen in relationships. But when you're spiritually connected, that's a terrible thing. And then, honestly, just start kind of looking to see, like, what it is you guys actually want. And where do you want to be?
Yeah.
And it's okay to start over. Because that's what you two need. You both need to just start over. But yet, at the same time, when we have a history, it's hard to start over. Yeah. But that's where you need to be. And that's what you need to do. And you need to look down in that southern area. All right? And then controlling your abilities or doing something with your abilities from a day-to-day, you really need to understand if that's what you want to do or not. You obviously know my world.
Yeah.
You obviously know my house. When you first came into this space, you heard all the ghost stories and all the terribleness.
What? What are you talking about?
And then when weird, creepy feelings happened and weird noises happened, I'm sure that was not something you were prepared for. Right. That is my world still to this day. And you have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's a tall ask, to be comfortable with that, especially when you yourself struggle with boundaries with people. Mm-hmm. I do too, but yours is 1,000 times worse than mine. So, you figure that out first, and then once you do that, then this will all come into play. But anytime you're starting to feel lost, you start to feel inwards again, white light yourself, touch, even if you have to go up and touch somebody, even a stranger, just be like, oh, your hair's so beautiful. Whatever. Just to make
There's
that
women
touch.
at my work who do that, and I actually do feel better.
Exactly.
They're like older women, and they're just like, you are the best. You are so cute.
Because they're probably sensing that you need touch, because
Yeah.
again, when we're around
yeah.
people, we see their triggers and we understand a lot. So, and then honestly, even if you can't do that, just walk outside. Even, there's a, actually, because it's almost winter, well, it's technically winter, but it doesn't feel like it. There's a product called an earth mat.
Huh.
And it's
like grass.
It's not grass. It's just
Okay.
this plastic thing, but it plugs into the little circle of the outlet to give a little bit of like a connection to a.
Right.
It doesn't shock you or anything like that. But it simulates grounding yourself.
Yeah, I've heard when you are out on the grass in your bare feet, you're connecting to the Earth's magnetic field.
Yes. And that's why anytime you fly, you should immediately go reground yourself because you've been away from that field and our body, connects to that.
Yeah.
So this earth mat thing, Dave actually found it, and he bought me one and he has one. So we tend to keep it on our feet a lot, especially after working all day. And it does help.
Okay.
So you could get something like that, and when you're really having a bad day, I mean, you can put that anywhere. I've put it on my face before, like, oh, I can't do this today. And it's not that expensive. I think it's like $30 or $60. It's not expensive. So, all right. So we should end because even though my next person's late, she'll probably be here any minute. Okay. All right. So those, other than looks like a hey. If you have questions, let me know. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Next Saturday, I have to think. Next Saturday, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'll have to put something out there on Facebook or mail or whatever to figure it out. If you guys have requests, put the request in. I know the time is moving fast. Maybe we'll do some healing energy depending on what happens with this election in the United States. Because either way, I think we all need it. It's been stressful. No matter which side you're on, I don't really care your political side. I mean, I do to a point, but at the same time, like I'm not going to judge you for it. But we all need some healing. So I don't know. So maybe that, but I'll definitely figure it out between now and next Wednesday and decide what it is that I'm doing. Bye.